Part 3 and respected listener, a very good morning and welcome all of you to today's lecture. Dear students of BSc Part 3, I am going to deliver today a very special lecture. The title I have mentioned on the blackboard, Basic Features of Spectrometers. The topic which is selected from BSc Part 3, Paper 3 Physical Chemistry, selected from that is of Unit 3, titled as that is of Spectroscopy. Dear students of BSc Part 3, once again I repeat, the necessary and fundamental conceptual of spectroscopy we have discussed up to the part of that is of 2, namely that is of sample cell T. Once again I repeat, dear students of BSc Part 3, I bring to draw your kind immediate notice on our previous lecture. Yesterday we have discussed about the fundamental distinction between spectroscope and spectrometers, the definition of spectrum, in which when sunlight is allowed to pass into that is of prism or diffraction grating by dispersion of phenomenon, the various bands produced on that is of photographic plate. Such phenomenon, such bands are known as of individual colors of Vibgyor are known as spectrum, and the plural of spectrums are known as that is of spectra. Dear student, we have also delivered in the classroom that there are two types of the spectrums, emission spectrum and that is of absorption spectrum. In the case of that is of emission spectrum, yesterday we discussed in the classroom that when highly substance possessing the energy, when is provided, when is given to the energy, the excess radiation is now allowed to pass into that is of a radiator, and further the transmitted radiation is now allowed to pass on that is of photographic plate. Such spectrum is known as emission spectrum. In the reciprocal manner of that is of absorption spectrum, absorption spectrum is the spectrum in which the substance possessing low energy, when is provided extra energy or heat, a few radiation will now further allowed to pass into that is a radiator. Further transmitted light is now allowed to pass on photographic plate. In such a position, such spectrum is known as that is of absorption spectrum. Once again I remove the suspension, the doubt in your minds. Generally, students understand about the same spectroscope and spectrometer. Once again I repeat, spectroscope is the device in spectroscopy which is used to measure, to record the 7 colors wavelength simultaneously. Like this, on the other hand, suppose in the way of spectroscope, we connect such a device naming as diffraction grating or prism, when is corrected in midway of spectroscope. In such a position, unwanted, undesired radiation will be absorbed by that is of prism, and desired, wanted radiation will now further allowed to pass on that is of photographic plate. I mean to say, spectrometer is the device, instrument which is used to record the intensity of single colors. We have also delivered in the classroom that there are 2 types of the fundamental kinds of spectrum, emission spectrum and that is of absorption spectrum, further divided into continuous and discontinuous. We have also proved, we have also defined discontinuous spectrum, further divided into that is of linear and that is of band spectrum. Linear spectrum produced by that is of atomic species present, that is of vapor and gaseous phase. In the case of that is of band spectrums are produced in the case of molecular species present, that is of solutions. Dear students, now we discuss, I will deliver today a very special lecture which provide us very beneficial contribution role in the field of spectroscopy to record the intensity, wavelength, wave number of that is various spectrum, electromagnetic wave and radiations. In order to explain today's the lecture of basic features of spectrometers, spectrometers is the apparatus which is the device, which is the instrument, which is the joint form of various 7 parts, in which first one part denotes that is of light source, which is further connected to that is of second part, which is symbolized by that is of T, of that is of sample cell T. Next one, sample cell T is further connected to that is the monochromator M. Next one, fourth part, monochromator part 3 is connected to that is of next one, fourth part is known as that is of detector. Next one, detector is further connected with that is of amplifier. In amplifier, fifth part is now further connected to last part, that is of 6th recorder. I mean to say, spectrometer is the connected device of various 6 parts here. Let us try to understand their important features and functions. Efficiency one by one in our previous lecture. Here, that is of, here, look at the blackboard here. S denotes here light source. To produce various kinds of spectrum like visible, NIR, near infrared, far infrared, near ultraviolet, far ultraviolet light, various kinds of the sources will be used as we have discussed in the classroom. In the next case, to discuss about that is of part 2. Part 2 is known as that is of sample cell T. Dear students, the spectrum which we are going to produce on that is a photographic plate here. The solution is now filled into that is of sample cell T. One important precaution must be remembered by the students. The solution should be prepared in such a solvent who do not react with that is of sample cell T. Otherwise, required, desired, wanted or correct spectrum will not be produced on that is of recorder 6. After the discussion of important features of second part to sample cell T, let us discuss about the important features. Work function of that is a monochromator is the device which is used to absorb unwanted, undesired radiations and to allow pass further that is of desired radiations. For this purpose, one can use prism or that is a diffraction grating. You look at the blackboard here, monochromator M is now further connected to that is of detector. The functions of here that is of detector, part 4, here that is of conversion of radiation energy into that is of electric energy. I mean to say, for this purpose, bolometer, thermal or photo detector one can use in the form of, in reference of that is of detector. Once again, try to understand here the main functions of that is of detector here, which is connected to that is of monochromator M. The transmitted radiation is now allowed to pass into that is of detector. The main function of here that is of detector part 4 for the conversion of that is of radiation energy to that is of electric energy here. For this purpose, bolometer, thermal or that is of photo detector compiles can be used here in the form of, in the role of that is of detector 4. Next one, detector 4th part is now further connected to that is of part 5th, which is known as that is of amplifier, as it is clear with the nomenclature of that is of amplifier, which is derived from that is of amplification. I have mentioned on the blackboard here, part 5th known as that is of amplifier. Amplifier means to increase the intensity of coming radiations here. Work to increase here that is of incidental intensity. Once again, the main function of amplifier 5th part to increase the intensity which is coming from that is of detector 4 to that is of 5th part, the radiation which is sent from that is of detector 4 to that is of amplifier part 5th to increase the intensity. Last one and very very important part of that is of 6th, which is known as that is of recorder here. Recorder here generally, obviously, there is doubt, confusion of the in the mind of the students, what is the shape, what is the nature, what will be the nomenclature and shape of that is the recorder. Dear students, so BSc Part 3 recorder is nothing but it is just like graph paper or chart paper. Finally a graph is plotted between that is of percentage absorption versus that is of lambda. A needle base point, such types of the spectrum will be produced here. Once again, let us try to understand about the functions of recorder. Recorder just like that is of a graph paper, or recorder just like a chart paper. Finally, by pointer, when a graph is plotted between the percentage absorption of particular solutions of light with that is of lambda, such types of the peak shape needle base point will be produced here. It is known as such types of the spectrum, and on the behalf of lambda one can determine the value of, the nature of, the structure of, the mechanism of that is of the molecules here. Dear students, these were overall the important features of that is of spectrometers here. I mean to say here. Finally, on the graph, on the recorder are the main function. When a graph is plotted between that is of percentage that is absorption, the main function of recorder to record, to plot the curve between that is of percentage absorption and that is of lambda. Such types of the needle base point graph will be obtained here to give the value of, and finally on the behalf of lambda one can determine the structure of the molecules. These were the various important features of various parts, and bone open humor and its approximation. Next topic we will deliver it, that is of tomorrow. Thank you very much.